Now let's see if this runs here with Brian Williams.
As we mentioned, there's health news tonight having to do with the most dire warnings yet on this growing problem of infections that are totally resistant to treatment with antibiotics. Our chief medical editor, Dr. Nancy Snyderman, is here with us with more on this. Nancy, good evening.
Brian, it really is a brave new world, because imagine something as simple as a strep throat, a scratched knee, a time when you can't go in for chemotherapy or hip replacement because it's just too dangerous because of fear of a deadly infection. Well, this is a report, a warning from the head of the World Health Organization that basically antibiotic resistance could mean the end of modern medicine. Why? Well, it's the overuse of antibiotics, and it has made us dangerously prone to all kinds of common infections. Staph infections, otherwise known as MRSA, methicillin-resistant staph, E. coli, tuberculosis, even HIV. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and the concern is, Brian, that this list is growing day by day.
Absent the invention of a new category of medicines, what are we left to do?
Guess what? Their pipeline is really dry for new medicines because there's not a lot of money in them. There's more money in things like Alzheimer's and your cholesterol. So what to do? Only take medications when you need it. That means skip it for the common colds. Use them as directed by your doctor. That means take them for every day you're supposed to. Watch out, and when you can, avoid them in food. They probably really don't belong in chicken and meat as much as we have. And watch out for counterfeit medications. It really is physician, industry, and patient all lining up.
Clear and present danger. Nancy, as always.
Thanks.
That's kind of scary, right? And as our speaker said, this is a serious issue. And I also want to talk about something else that's related to that. And I actually work on cancer right now mostly. And you may think there's not a lot of relationship, but there is actually. This is a plot from the National Cancer Institute. You can't read this small writing here, but it's from 1930 to 2000. So that's 70 years of time, and these are the mortality rates due to various cancers. Some of them we've made terrific progress, and that's the stomach cancer, which is actually caused by bacteria. It's going to go up as these bacteria develop resistance to antibiotics. But you see, most of these things are relatively flat, in spite of the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been spent over the years. This one right here, you might guess, is lung cancer due to smoking. And if you average them all up into a common curve here, you'll see that over the last 40 years, in spite of all the wars we've declared against cancer, the mortality rate means if you were diagnosed with it, did you eventually die from it, have basically been unchanged. And this slope here is probably due predominantly to the stomach cancer thing and the fact that people are starting to smoke less than they used to. But that's basically it. If you remove that out, it's been flat. Why is that? Why have we not succeeded in knocking down mortality due to cancer? And why has this explosion occurred in antibiotic resistance in bacteria? I think they're connected, but I think also in the case of cancer, it seems to have been resistant to modern Western medicine using these molecular biology tactics, shock and awe, same kind of things we do with antibiotics to try to knock down bacteria. So the answer is that in cancer, as in bacterial infections, they develop resistance versus time. So this is a plot here from a well-known cancer drug. It's called the Kaplan-Meier curve. And it says when treatment is started, this goes up to 60 months or 5 years, what is the, how many people have progressed? Progression is a bad thing. Progression means the cancer has returned. And once the cancer has returned after the treatment by various chemotherapies, it's now resistant to that one. So this light line here is what it looks like if they don't do anything. And this yellow line here represents if you take this chemotherapy, which is probably going to cost you a couple $100,000 a year. And you can see that ultimately these people are basically cured down here, 5% or so. You just buy some time. Ultimately, even with the chemotherapy, it's trying to kill these cancer cells. They develop resistance to the chemotherapy, and they come back. So just as in the antibiotic case, where we've seen the origins of resistance occurring in antibiotics, in cancer we also see the same thing. But any oncologist would tell you we see rapid evolution. So the common theme here, what I'm going to be talking about today, is rapid evolution. The organisms evolve rapid resistance to the things that are being applied to them to try to destroy them. Just my own university, Princeton University, we just got a brand new chemistry building. I guess the chemical engineering is trying to get a new building pretty soon. But right now, chemistry's got the first one here. It's a $350 million building. It's a beautiful building. It's actually paid for. It's not been named after anybody because we actually get the money off the royalties from a chemotherapy drug that Professor Ted Taylor developed. It took 30 years to develop it with support from the pharmaceutical industry. So the $40 to $50 million in royalty we get off this $1 billion a year seller is what is basically paying for our brand new chemistry building that. So if you ask, and you have to work at this, by the way. I'm a little bit cynical, but if you actually dig out what the Kaplan-Meier curve looks like for this $1 billion a year seller, it looks like this. This is the placebo with if you don't do anything with the drug, and here is what the drug does. That's a couple $1 billion a year to sell. That's depressing, right? It doesn't cure anything. It gives you some time. There's some cures here probably then. So I would say until we understand the evolution of drug resistance, either in the bacterial system or in the cancer system, I wouldn't put much stock in evening news when they talk about the latest cancer breakthroughs. You as a physicist, you say, I'd like to see the data, please. Right? Don't tell me the numbers. But I would buy big pharma stock because there's huge amounts of money involved. So. And we've been trying to do this. This is a 1928 New York Times article, World War on Cancer Makes Notable Gains. No, they haven't. They really haven't made notable gains in all these years. I would think that's a little bit dark to say that, but I think it's somewhat true. I've had some great talks in the audience today with physicists, actually, who have gone after this, actually, and tried to understand this better. So I think what physicists have a problem understanding that we really have to ask the question why. If we just look at the question how, then that's an incomplete kind of thing here. We're dealing with something very complicated. So the why question in biology is just as important as the how question is. In fact, in some ways,